the idea that our perceptions and our beliefs become our reality. And the thought and the patterns that we put our energy into, we get more of that. So whether that's on the negative side of things or whether that's on the positive side of things, that's what we're going to get. So learning how to recognize and reframe those repetitive negative um, things, thoughts can have a dramatic impact on our mental health and our quality of life. So we want to feel our feelings, but not feed them. So those negative things, we don't want to perpetuate more of that. We want to recognize that. And then we want to shift and we want to reframe so that we can kind of build more of the positive. So our emotions are meant to come and go. And when we choose to ignore those negative emotions, or if we judge ourselves for having them, they become stuck in our brains and in our bodies. So again, we're going to get more of that, but it's also going to kind of negatively affect us. That might, feel kind of junky. Our habits and things might kind of fall off a little bit when that happens. So instead, we want to learn to sit with those emotions, and that helps us understand their origin and their purpose. And then we can manage them a little bit more effectively. So, recognizing and reframing is our target. This is sort of the action thing that we have control over. So, we want to recognize patterns, common themes, or reoccurring ideas, both negative and positive. And with this awareness, we want to ask ourselves, is this thought pattern useful? And is it based in truth? And one thing I like to ask is if I asked a neutral third party, would they tell me that that's a fact? Or is this something that I'm kind of projecting and something that I'm looking at it through my own experiences and internalizing that. And our goal here is to make some tweaks to make our thoughts more accurate and more compassionate, because I think we often are not very compassionate to ourselves. So we want to hold ourselves to a high standard without shame and without negative self talk. And as women, I think that's something that we deal with maybe more so than other genders. But this is something that we have control over. So our goal is to talk about some tools today that we can put the power back in your hands and that we have control over these things. So talking through the things we can do to flip that script and to kind of perpetuate more of what we want to get back. So if we look at the second page, we're going to talk about 4 different types of distorted thinking. So first we have all or nothing thinking. So this is black and white thinking, and the thoughts have no middle ground, and they often include words like always, never, or every time. So when we experience this, how can we reframe that? We can think of a similar scenario that had a neutral or positive outcome and think about what was different, or what can we do to what's within our control to kind of change that script. So in that scenario, maybe this is I'm always late, and that gives me anxiety, and I think people have a negative opinion of me because of that. So think of that scenario. Is there a time where I've been on time or I've been early? And what was different about that scenario? And how can we perpetuate more of that? What's in our control? Catastrophizing, so exaggerating situations, making them appear worse without realizing it, and falling down that rabbit hole of what if scenarios. So this is a classic anxiety response. This will happen, with one domino falls, and in your head, the next 30 dominoes have already fallen, but the situation hasn't even played out yet. So focusing on the facts. So this is where it's really important to think, okay, neutral third party, what would they say? Is this truth, or is this something I'm projecting? And then what reasonable steps can you take to prevent the situation from progressing any further? And then we want to find balance here between the effort required and the scenario probability. So what I mean by that is, what's something that I can do that impacts the outcome here, but I also can't fall down the rabbit hole of trying to control everything, because that sort of puts us into a different type of spiral. So finding balance between what I can control, but not trying to control everything. Okay, personalization. So this is reacting to every negative experience or outcome like it's your fault, or taking things to heart, even when those situations don't involve you, they're not directed at you. And I think I see a lot of heads nodding. I think this is the one that we identify with most. So something happens or somebody says something and we take it in a way that's like, oh, that was, attacking me. When in reality, that might not be the case at all. So I would say, number one, being direct and asking that question, is this about me or is this about this scenario? Or is this kind of a general thing? And I'm just inferring that because of my past and my experiences. Also putting yourself in the other person's shoes or trying to consider other explanations for their behavior. So rather than immediately thinking that's because of me or that's my fault or they're attacking me, what other scenarios could be playing into this? And then working to give people the benefit of the doubt. So this means approaching the situation with curiosity, genuine curiosity. So rather than having kind of your agenda in the back of your mind when you're working through this, can we just start with a blank slate? And this is really hard to do. This takes practice. We all have internal biases. We have history. We have experiences that shape the way we approach these things. Okay, negative filter is the last one on our list here. So this is when we focus on all the negatives of the situation and we kind of bulldoze right over the positives. We don't even see them. And this is often seen with perfectionist personalities. So this is something that we really have to combat. I say we because I'm definitely in this boat. This is something that I struggle with. Practicing actively looking for positives in everyday situations. So this might be the example listed here is you left your lunch on the counter and now you're going to go out to lunch with a coworker. And that's kind of an unexpected perk. So reframing that instead of thinking, oh, shoot, I didn't bring a lunch today, I forgot it. And beating yourself up, you see it as a positive that I got to spend some quality time with my coworker that maybe I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And then with every challenge, a lesson. So if something negative happens because we don't have control over everything and that's going to happen, how can we reframe that and think, what did I learn from this? What can I take away? What things will help me kind of have an experience to play off of next time this happens? Okay. And then the last piece, you guys, we have kind of a practice sheet. So this is extremely personal. So you don't have to write anything in here today. I would encourage you, if you're a journaler, if you want to use this maybe for a journal prompt down the road or while you're having your morning coffee or before bed or whatever that looks like, but to kind of think about those reoccurring thoughts. So are there negative thought patterns that you've identified, or maybe you truly need to, think about your day and where could I improve a little bit? So identifying those thoughts, recognizing what makes that inaccurate or where there's room for change here, and then reframing that. So what things have I learned? What's in my control? How can I flip the script? And then kind of creating your new reality. So next time I encounter this, what do I want that to look like? And writing this out can be really cathartic. I also think that this really helps us become more emotionally intelligent. We all know somebody who's emotionally intelligent, right? And we gravitate toward that person. We feel safe with them. We feel respected. Sometimes we want more of their time, right? It feels good for us. So I would encourage us all to put time into these things so that we can become that more emotionally intelligent person. Because when we started this session, we get back what we're putting out there. So if we can focus on this, create more of this, become more emotionally intelligent, we're influencing the sphere around us and we're getting more of that back. So if that's our goal, to get more of the positive back, more of the emotionally intelligent back, we have to start with us. This is the piece that we have control over. Does anybody really identify with this or feel like maybe they are that emotionally intelligent person and put in the work?
That's the topic of my MSN students this week.
Really?
Is they had to do an emotional intelligence quiz and then talk about their strengths and areas they want to improve in. So I'm like, this is really cool.
Well, you are welcome to use this. This handout. I'll have extras. So if this is
You notice I took an
extra, go ahead. Yes. 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really fun reading these students' perceptions about where are their strengths and where do they find that they need to improve.
I'm so glad to hear. So student makes me think a younger population, right?
This is graduate students.
Okay.
So some are still in their BSN program here and they're doing their MMU plus, and some are second career.
Okay.
Which I love having that range.
Well, I think this is good at any age, but I think also the earlier we can introduce this stuff, because I think this was not commonplace stuff to talk about when I was growing up. And I imagine, generations before me, it was even less common. So to be putting stock in this and to teach these things early can only help us in the future. So if we all can be a little bit more emotionally intelligent, or at least talk about these things, right? To be direct, to ask, is this about me? Is this about this situation? Or where's that coming from? To just, dispel some unnecessary conflict and to kind of promote more of those healthy emotional relationships. Yeah, awesome. Good.